Welcome to Pimpy's Investment Chat, where we keep investment talk simple. And here's your host, Pimpy.
What is going on out there, peeps? All right, so it looks like the coordinating framework is moving forward without solder. And Maliki was pushing these people to go ahead and accept the resignation of Solder and his deputies as quickly as possible. There was some resistance for just a little while, but it appears they seem to be moving forward. For those of you who don't know what Maliki looks like, this is this guy right here. Before we get started, hit the thumbs up button. And if you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel, and I surely do appreciate it. If you're thinking about buying precious metals like gold and silver, yep, that's right. You can actually own it and have it in your possession. So when you go to buy your gold and silver, give a consideration to our friends at moneymetals.com. If you're a first-time buyer and you spend more than $100, use promo code Pimpy, P-I-M-P-Y, and they will give you a free half ounce of silver. Speaking of, Maliki's coalition moves to vote on replacements for Solder's parliament in an emergency session. Look at, he wanted to replace him so badly and quickly that he called an emergency session. The State of Law coalition led by Maliki revealed today, which was Sunday, of course, a parliamentary move to hold an emergency session and vote on the Solder's block resigned replacements. The representative of the State of Law, Mohammed Assaid, told the news that holding an emergency session of the House of Representatives requires collecting 50 signatures, noting that the deputies of the coordinating framework are more than the required number. Chud said there is currently a movement to collect signatures from the deputies of the coordinating framework to hold an emergency session of the House of Representatives to vote on replacing the resigned representatives and to take the oath in their place. Chud indicated that the request to hold the session will be submitted to the presidency of the parliament to set a date for it. And today, Sunday, Parliament Speaker Halabasi signed a Dewania orders for the resignation of the Solder's block deputies from the parliament. According to a number of Dewania orders received by the news, Halabasi signed an order to disband his first deputy, Zamili, in addition to the 70 Dewania orders ending the relationship with the Solder's block deputies with Parliament. If you remember, on June the 13th, Solder directed the Solder's block deputies and the Iraqi Parliament to hand over the resignations to the Speaker of the Parliament, Halabasi, while he thanked his allies in the Save the Homeland coalition and informed them that they are in a solution. Halabasi signed these resignations in the presence of the heads of the parliamentary bloc, Adari, and then commented by saying their resignations took place reluctantly. Barzani's party is proceeding to form a government without the Solder's movement. I don't think he has a choice. A member of the Kurdistan Democratic Party confirmed on Sunday that the government will be formed if the leader of the Solder's movement does not return after the resignation of the Solderists, noting that his party has become the weight of the egg. He continued by saying, "We are moving towards forming a government," stressing by saying all negotiations and what happened, there is something strange. Everything that happens in the homes is in secret. He had expressed his hope that the Solder's bloc would return, adding that if Solder did not return after negotiations, the government would be formed. He added that the Kurdistan Democratic Party has become the weight of the egg after the withdrawal of the Solder's bloc, noting that the formation of the government has become the duty of all of us. In the same context, Kanai, a member of the Leadership Council of the Kurdistan Democratic Party, said that the withdrawal of the Solder's bloc is a matter for them, but the political situation in Iraq has become more complicated with the withdrawal of the Solder's bloc, and the problems have deepened. I agree with that. All he did is basically hand over Iraq on a silver platter to Iran, is what it appears. The solutions are more difficult. So far, there is no specific reasons for Solder's withdrawal from Parliament, except that the internal Shiite problem is a deep problem and the result of regional interference. He added that the KDP had a negotiating committee and had an alliance with Solder, and it still remains. But we have always said that this does not mean that we will not have any contact with the Shiite and other Iraqi parties. We want an understanding between all Iraqi parties. It is noteworthy that the deputies of the Sadr's bloc submitted their resignations a few days ago, and Parliament Speaker Halabasi, by order of the leader of the Sadr's movement. KDP said it would join the government formation in Baghdad if verdict over KRG's gas laws dropped. You remember the Supreme Court, Kazakhstan had to turn everything over as far as the oil revenues, oil contracts, and everything else are concerned, saying it was unconstitutional. They should not be stealing oil from Iraq and selling it. So that lawsuit is still pending. And the KDP is saying they're willing to join and participate in forming a government if the Iraq Federal Supreme Court verdict on the Kurdistan's regional government's oil contracts is suspended. A political source close to the KDP informed Voice of America the KDP has asked the Shiite parties to hold their court's decision until Erbil and Baghdad reach an agreement. The KDP has also requested that Iraq President Barham Saleh not to be nominated for the president again. Saleh is a Patriotic Union of Kurdistan's nominee for the office of president. An MP from the KDP bloc in Parliament told the VOA and the KDP's preconditions come from the will of the KRG and its legal institutes. So it looks like in order for them to join this party and help form the new government, they want them to suspend the contracts as well as get rid of Saleh. The coordination framework talks about the day of forming the government after the Eid al-Adha holiday. So it said the coordinating framework set the date for the forming the new government while indicating that no political party will be marginalized from participating in the next government. Now, although they're hiding it, Maliki wants to be prime minister. As you know, in Iraq, there is a president, but the president doesn't run the country. It's usually the prime minister. Now Maliki's pushing to be the prime minister. That is a bad situation. Now look, when I took the time to tell people in the video, in the best case scenario, we're looking at about 2 years. Only because you had to turn around and build up the private sector, get things stabilized, get the government formed, and the budget passed. But when Sadr resigned, that made things worse. And I don't care what anybody tells you out there. They can go ahead and blow smoke up your butt. I'm going to tell you the truth. And I understand that a lot of you don't like it, but at least I'm the one that's going to be telling you what is going on. And that is this. If Maliki gets in there, if the coordinating framework forms their government, and somehow, some way, Maliki makes it to prime minister, this is going to be really bad, you guys. There's going to be serious uprisings. These are the same people that were in office that got kicked out in October of 2019 when the protesters rose up. They are the corrupt people. These are the very same people that Sadr wanted out of office. He did not want them to participate in the government, and he wanted to open up the corrupt files against them and start indicting people. Now, I know we talked about civil war. I do agree with Nader that civil war won't come that easy, but I'm not saying it's impossible. The more we move along down the path that we see Maliki's people forming a government, and all of a sudden you see Maliki become prime minister, man, that is a bad situation, and that country is going to become unstable for quite some time. I've made videos explaining what it is that we have got to look for before a rate change can happen. At least Sadr said during this campaign he was going to do what he could to change the rate. The National, our position is firm on Saleh's candidacy, and our understanding continues with the framework for forming an exclusive government. But here you can see the Patriotic Union of Kurdistan confirm that his position is firm regarding the nomination of the President of the Republic, Barham Saleh, for a second presidential term. The leaders of the Union told the news, despite the recent changes in political process, our position is still firm regarding our adherence to the position of the presidency and the nomination of Barham Saleh, and he indicated that our rapprochement with the coordinating framework and our understanding exist and will remain consistent to form a consensus government that includes all compounds of the Iraqi people. Not consensus. Sadr wanted a majority. So basically what's happening is same crap, different diaper is what this is. The kind of government that has been running Iraq since 2003 that was corrupt before Al-Qademi Saleh is now about to get back into power. It is noteworthy that the political scene has witnessed recent changes represented by the resignation of the Sadr's bloc. Now this is interesting. It says Iraq intends to buy the largest share of Exxon Mobil. That's what it should say. This is spelled wrong. in Basra and confirmed its commitment to the decision of OPEC. Remember, I was telling you there's some pretty big oil deposits that have not been announced. And to see them make this move to buy the largest share of Exxon Mobil in Basra, I'm wondering if then they're going to make the announcement. So you think they're kicking butt already with oil? They're about to overtake Saudi Arabia as the largest oil producer, I think, within the next 5 years, despite the fact that everybody's supposed to be turning to so-called green energy. Iraq finance minister says KRG will not take share of the 22 budget. This is Alawi saying that, look, since Kurdistan has not done everything that the courts have ordered them to, they will not be part of the 2022 budget until they do so. And you can see what's going on with Sauder is causing some type of tension inside the coordinated framework. It says Maliki and Khazali are angry with Amari. He obstructed the replacements of the Sauder's deputy and called the reference to intervene. So when they were ready to move forward, he was saying no. He did not agree to move forward. He was doing everything he could to make sure that Sauder and his people would take part in his government, which is interesting because it seems to me like they had a pretty good coalition. If this guy was worried about his own people, the coordinated framework taking over the government, why'd he speak up earlier and then side with Sauder? We wouldn't be in this mess as it is. Maliki, I think, is going to be trying to become prime minister. In one other article, it says that's a rumor, but if you see right here, it said the source indicated that Maliki does not want to involve the Najib authority in this matter for the fear of standing against his proposal to head the government, which he seeks strongly. See, he does want to be the prime minister. And then we got another 4 years before another election, if they do a full term. 4 years under this government, one that might have Maliki as the prime minister. And then after that, even if these people get voted out of office, then you can look forward to the new government coming in and how many years is it going to take for them to turn around and fix the damage caused by Maliki and the government. They just barely started to get right back on track. And now this is a hot mess. I saw this article and I was wondering, gee, what is Sauder up to? This is Sauder in Saudi Arabia. So one of the leaders of the Sauderist movement told the news that Sauder will go during the next few days to Saudi Arabia to perform the Hajj rite for this year. So there's a ceremony coming up. And the leader, who chose not to reveal his name, stated that until this moment, no meetings have been coordinated between Sauder and the responsible figures in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, noting that holding such a meeting is very likely, explaining that any meeting that will be held is currently not without discussing the crisis and forming the new Iraqi government and the issue of the Sauderist movement withdrawal from the political process. I think there's something bigger going on behind this, that there's a possibility that the government that's going to be formed is going to have some serious resentment from the streets with him leading that resistance. I found this article very interesting. Finance. Iraq plans to be the largest producer of electrical energy. Heck, how is that possible? They can't even put up their own electric grid. That's the first thing that crossed my mind. But since Iraq's one of the largest oil producers, they want to become one of the world's electrical producers. And how they do that, I don't know. But they want to invest money into that technology so that they could be the world's #1 producer of electricity. It seems to me like governments around the world are definitely jumping aboard this New World Order movement as everybody tries to go green, as everybody tries to shift away from oil, which is pretty questionable why it is that they want to move everybody from oil. It's not like there's not enough there. As you can see here, it says during the next 25 years, the demand for energy will change, and we have to prepare for this culture and pay attention to the economic infrastructure, stressing the need for economic policies to be designed according to the circumstances surrounding the world. And this is not an easy task, especially when all your citizens are running around as robots, okay? He stressed there is a great opportunity to invest in the electricity sector and to become the largest producer of electrical energy, despite the current problems in production in Iraq, and these problems must be resolved. Technology applied to the transition from exporting oil to exporting electrical energy. So they do at least acknowledge the fact that they have their own problem with electricity. I don't want to say it's over for Sauter yet until it's over. You can see that Maliki is in a rush to make sure that Sauter's people cannot come back. Will that happen? Let's see. But I can tell you right now, a government formed by the coordinating framework that puts Maliki as prime minister and in control of that country is a real bad situation that's only going to get worse. I know you don't want to hear it, but that is the truth. Anyways, that is it for now. I will catch you later. I am out.